With us now, though, Corey Ross. He's the co-producer for the Immersive Van Gogh exhibit. Corey, great to have you with us here on the MegaCast.
Thanks. It's a pleasure to be here.
So for those that, like Tyler, that maybe have been living under a rock and haven't seen the advertisements or the post about this exhibit, fill us in.
Okay, well, the first thing I usually say when speaking to audiences in America is if you have been watching Emily in Paris on Netflix,
yes,
then you know what I'm talking about, because episode 5 of Emily in Paris was shot from an immersive Van Gogh exhibit that was created by Massimiliano Siccardi, and Massimiliano has created a new show for North America. It's his first time doing something in America. He's been creating these immersive art installations in Europe for over 30 years, and millions of people have come to see his work, and we're very excited to be bringing it to America. Now, what is it? It is, we take over a building and he digitally maps the gallery, the architecture of the gallery. So the building itself is a participant in the art, and you walk into the gallery and every surface is projected on and illuminated by and transformed by Van Gogh's paintings that then come alive because Massimiliano is an animator. And so he deconstructs the pieces and they begin to move. So sunflowers are swaying in the breeze, and clouds are going by, and stars are twinkling. But also he creates a loose narrative. It's all choreographed to music, an original music score, and it tries to delve into the psychology of Van Gogh. Meanwhile, you, the patrons, the public, are walking through the gallery. So all of this movement is happening around you, and then you're moving as well as you pass through it. It's just a completely new medium. It's a new way of experiencing art.
And what's so beautiful with that as well is just that it's taking you inside the art. So for even people that have been lucky enough to see the original art, Tyler, as you know, my sister has a bed and breakfast in the south of France,
yes,
and then used to live in Paris as well. So we've been lucky to see some of his artwork in person, but this is new in that you're experiencing art in a totally different way.
Yeah, this is completely new, and it's so hard to describe until you've been to it. And when I went over to Paris to see the piece in Paris that Massimiliano created, trust me, the whole way over there, I'm flying and I'm thinking to myself, what is projected art? Why would anyone want to see it? And I already knew 2 million people had seen it in Paris. So I was like, why would anyone want to see it in a city where you could just go to the Louvre and see all this extraordinary original paintings that are world-class that are there? And what I saw was just, it's a completely new medium. It's somewhere between art exhibiting, filmmaking, and this experiential thing that you pass through, that you physically engage with. And it's so, what struck me at the time and really strikes me now after the pandemic is it's so rare to see a new medium of art. So we all know when you go to an art gallery, and most people have been doing that since they were kids. You go into an art gallery and the art is on the wall, there's a label, or maybe there's a sculpture. If you go to the cinema and you go to see a movie, you're sitting in a row and the movie's projected on the screen, and it could be the most incredible new film, but it's still the same format, the same medium that we've been experiencing since we were kids. And same with a Broadway show. You can go see Hamilton, which is incredible music, but it's still the idea. You show up at 8 o'clock, you sit in your seats. You don't see a new medium come up in life very often, and that's really what this is. It's something that if you haven't been to one of these, if you haven't been to a true immersive show, this is a completely mind-blowing new type of experience. And to come and have the chance to see that after a year in this pandemic when none of us have been able to leave and have any of the normal artistic experiences, and now here's this opportunity to do something completely new. First of all, we all deserve it. So if you're listening out there, you deserve to see something new and exciting now.
But I will say with that, Corey, as well, because I went online, I've been seeing the ads, and I have a friend who got tickets, and so I was like, you know, my birthday is this month, let me go ahead and have my husband get me tickets for my birthday, because the show's actually not until November here in Detroit, correct?
Actually, it starts in October, but October is completely sold out. And we do have availability starting in November.
So when I was looking, it seemed like there were only a few days left in November. So it has really become so popular here in the States.
It's really been incredible. So we're open already in Chicago and San Francisco. We open next week in New York. But we have tickets on sale in 20 cities. And everywhere we go, the reaction is incredible. We've sold over 90,000 tickets in Detroit so far, which is extraordinary.
That is so awesome. And with that too, Corey, though, I have to wonder, when you said that it's part of the place that you go to visit it. So for us, it's going to be, I believe it's Cobo, or now TCF Center. Still always going to be Cobo for us, old timers.
No, hold on a second. Let's not confuse people.
Okay.
So we have not announced the location in Detroit yet.
Oh, you haven't?
Massimiliano has a process where he creates the art around the location, and that takes a few months. So we're not opening till October, and we don't announce until about a month before, and we've done this in every city we've been to, because we want to give him the out. If for some reason the architecture isn't working and his process isn't working and he gets frustrated, he wants us to give him an opportunity to change. So if you're buying tickets now today, you're buying tickets to a secret location. And then we usually let everyone know there'll be a big announcement. It'll be a great PR stunt. I'll be able to come back on the show and talk about it. But right now there isn't a location. But let me clear up the confusion. So Massimiliano Siccardi, who I mentioned, has been doing this for 30 years in Europe, and he's sold millions of tickets. And he really is, in my opinion, the Steven Spielberg of the genre. He's really the guru and the guy. When we announced his show in North America, we started with Toronto last summer, where it was a huge success. And now, as I said, we have 3 other cities. But there's other imitators out there who are trying to do something similar to Massimiliano. In my opinion, not as good. They're not the originators. And one of them is coming this summer to Detroit. I don't need to give them more PR. I just need to say, don't be confused. When this group went on sale with their show originally in Miami about 3 months ago, they didn't even have any art for their show because they hadn't created it yet. They ran videos and photos of our show in their advertising. So what's going on out there, it's been an interesting adventure to have something this popular. I've never had something where there's multiple other parties trying to do the same thing.
Well, I'm so glad that you cleared that up as well. And I guess for me, I just assumed it would be there because that's where so many of these events go. But with that too, talk about the challenge of trying to redesign a show for each venue, which is different.
So Massimiliano's based in Rome. He has a whole team around him, and what they do is that's what they pride themselves on, is that how the show sits within the environment that it's in. And we've been really excited because in each city that we've gone to, we do something that brings it into the city that really is magical. So I'll give you, for instance, in Toronto, we went into the original printing press room of the Toronto Star building, which is really central in Toronto, right opposite the Air Canada Centre. You have to be near a hockey place in Toronto. But that's got a real industrial, it's a 50-year-old industrial building. Meanwhile, in Chicago, we've gone into something called Germania Club, which is this old German community center that was built in 1890, and it existed during Van Gogh's lifetime, and its architecture is neoclassical and completely different environment to the industrial environment that we did in Toronto. And then in San Francisco, we're in the original Fillmore Club, where the Grateful Dead and Janis Joplin got their start. And that, if anyone knows that room, if you're in there in the 60s and early 70s when it was an active club, it's got these incredible arabesque archways. And again, is completely unique and different. And in New York City, which is opening the next week, and we'll run there all summer. There we've gone into a pier that's on the water, which is actually, from an architecture standpoint, somewhat nondescript compared to the other places that I've just described to you. But what we've done there is we've brought in David Corrins, who's the set designer of the musical Hamilton, and he's created the environment. So in each city, we kind of try to go into something that's really fitting with the city, and even in New York, so we brought Broadway to the show. And we'll find something, well, when we announce it, you'll see that we found something similar in Detroit.
Corey Ross with us here on the MegaCast. He's the co-producer for the Immersive Van Gogh exhibit, which is coming here to the Motor City in October and November. And with that, Corey, where are you located right now?
I'm in Toronto.
Okay, so I will say, I'm sure you probably have already eyed a location here in Detroit, but I would love to see it in the old train station that Ford has recently purchased and is renovating right now.
It would be very cool in there.
I'm going
to stay quiet, but it would be very cool in there.
not that I'm trying to get you to tell any secrets at all, but it's been so great to see them try to rehab that old building as well, and it would just be amazing. So with that, Corey, too, can you talk a little bit more about the technology behind this exhibit?
Sure. It's a massive installation, so we're not doing a touring show that kind of loads in and stays for a short while, and each city is so unique that it really is large scale. The exhibit is 500,000 cubic feet of projection surface, 90 million pixels of projection, and something like what is it like? I'm trying to do the translation from kilometers to miles. I think it's 20 miles of fiber optic cables. So those are all big numbers. But the key is that we have state-of-the-art Panasonic projectors, and they focus in on every space, every surface in the space. So the floors, the walls, columns, archways, they're all illuminated by the art, and it really is sort of completely new technology that you wouldn't have seen applied in this way previously. We are the largest purchasers of Panasonic projectors in the world right now.
Well, look at that. See, it's so amazing the things that you find out. Corey, what's it been like for you to be the co-producer of this here and taking it around the world and doing it in the middle of a global pandemic?
Well, it's been a combination of exhilarating and scary. We were already involved in this project, and we're building it in the Toronto Star Building in Toronto last year in March when the pandemic hit. And we had millions of dollars on the line in Toronto, and we had to think, how are we going to do this and what are we going to do? And we ended up being really the leaders on how you can open any type of experiential in-person show during the pandemic. We got open in July last year in Toronto. And what we did in Toronto, which is unique, we're not doing this in Detroit, although I know you are a car city. In Toronto, we opened 2 versions of the show simultaneously. We built the entire exhibit twice. We built one for walk-in, which is the original way that it's conceived, and frankly, the best way of seeing the show. But we also created a parallel gallery that was right next door to the gallery with walk-in, where we allowed people to drive in. There was an old ramp up the back of the Toronto Star Building where people could drive their cars up, and the Toronto Star vans used to go in there to pick up the newspapers off the press. So we created this experience where you drive up inside a building, down a hallway, and into the gallery.
Wow.
And when we opened in July of last year, the press around that idea was one of the first drive-ins, to think back to a year ago, it was one of the first drive-ins, so we had extraordinary press on it, and we had extraordinary demand. We had people coming into the drive-in from 8 in the morning till 3 in the morning, 7 days a week. It was completely sold out. But more importantly, over in the walk-in version, we were one of the first cultural places to do temperature checking and masks, and we projected social distancing circles and integrated them into the projections on the floor in the exhibit. And I was worried about that because like these big circles that people are being directed to stand in, and so what would happen is you would stand in one and then move to the next one as someone else moved around, so you could move around and through the experience. But I thought to myself, aren't these circles going to disturb people? But they ended up fitting so well with Van Gogh's art. Circular shapes are a big part of what he does, and they kind of sit in magically. So you're probably seeing that on your social media feed, because most of our photos still have people in masks and circles. But so we developed all these things. We had over 250,000 people come through in Toronto safely, and then we've rolled them out across our other venues. So we have that in Chicago and in San Francisco right now.
And with that, it's been such a popular event. Do you anticipate that this type of medium is going to continue with other artists' work as well?
I think so, for sure. And I also don't think that it's limited to art to artists. So Massimiliano will naturally, he's already thinking about the next artist to create, but I also just see it as a completely new type of storytelling. So if you begin to think about the future of even movies, right? So right now, I think that's a very challenged business. Because you can see most everything on Netflix that you need to see, and we have great televisions in our homes now, and so the AMC and the other distributors and movie cinema people are, in my opinion, have challenges and will continue to have challenges. But storytelling in this type of environment where you pass through is a completely new way of experiencing it. So I think maybe the next Mission Impossible film will be one where you come through our galleries and you're running through there with Tom Cruise on the adventure and dodging obstacles and having the whole experience with them. It's so rich with possibilities, and I can't wait to see what comes next. Now that artists are beginning to see it, I think the creativity is just going to, our phone is ringing, will continue to ring with artists that have incredible creative ideas as to what to do with the technology.
I love to see people that think big and outside of the box, and that's so many artists as well, because it's about, it's about their love and their passion for the artwork, and obstacles aren't really in their way. They'll find a way to overcome them. And with that, Corey, just another couple minutes with you here on the MegaCast. So when someone goes in for the first time, is it like a 30-minute program, an hour program? Does it teach you about Van Gogh, or are you just immersed in the art?
Okay, so typically it's about an hour, and we have some educational components. It's different than what you might see if you went to see Van Gogh at the Van Gogh Museum in Amsterdam. This isn't a story that's a narrative that tells you about Van Gogh's life. It's not. We don't have big labels on the wall that tell you what Van Gogh did in 1872, and so it's not that. Although we do have an audio guide that you can listen to in advance. What you're experiencing inside the exhibit is completely visceral. So it's this crazy stream of consciousness narrative that tries to take you inside the mind of Van Gogh. Massimiliano Siccardi's concept was that he would try to reimagine what flashed before Van Gogh's eyes in the moments before he passed away. And what we do is we license from the greatest museums in the world 400 images of Van Gogh's art. But these images are just the raw material. Massimiliano deconstructs them, animates them, and puts them together. One morphs into the other, which morphs into the next. And as I said, it's all choreographed to music. So all of this comes together as something completely new, and it's not particularly educational. It's more emotional. It's more a visual adventure to go on.
And so with that too, I love it because it feels like it opens up the art world to the regular person. Because when you go to the Louvre, you go to some of these big art galleries, you can feel a bit intimidated by some of those that live and exist in the art community. And this to me feels like it really just makes it accessible to everyone.
Absolutely. It's really accessible. When we survey our audiences and ask why they're coming, we have a huge group that comes on date night. It's an awesome date night. We have a lot of young people between the ages of 20 and 50 coming on date nights. It's also a great family outing. Kids love it. It's very playful. They can play with the images. It's projected everywhere, including on you. If you come wearing something light white, for instance, then it really shows up on you. So it's very playful and very fun and appeals to a very wide audience. But there's also no reason why it shouldn't be interesting to true art aficionados. You just have to come in understanding that you're about to experience something completely new and different, and in that way it's quite charming as well.
I love that, but it also opens up Van Gogh's artwork, because I will say, going to the Louvre and seeing the Mona Lisa for the first time, you were a little bit disappointed because it's been such a major part of our story throughout the country when it comes to art, and then when you go to see the picture, it's actually small. And so this is such a great way to...
There's nothing about our exhibit that's small. Don't worry about that. 500,000 square feet of projection is not small, it's massive. So you will not be underwhelmed by the size, guaranteed.
Corey Ross with us, co-producer, Immersive Van Gogh exhibit coming here to Detroit after being a part of the European world. It's now coming here to North America, and we're so lucky that you guys picked Detroit. Corey, anything maybe I didn't ask that you want our listeners and viewers to know before we say goodbye?
No, the tickets are at immersivevangogh.com. So that's where to go to get the tickets, and we just can't wait to get to Detroit with this.
And I will say, like I said, I was online trying to find tickets, not a lot left, but for all the guys out there, this is, like you said, Corey, major bonus points for a date night.
All right, perfect. Great chatting with you.
You too. Thank you for your time. We appreciate it, and best of luck on the exhibit.